Welcome to Letting Go with Grace. I'm Dr. Tasha.
And I'm Portia. We're family.
We want to share our relationship with you. This is a safe space where no topic's off limits. We're successful, ambitious women, wrapped in Black girl magic, and we're on a mission to have it all. Love, peace, and the freedom to be authentic.
We let go of control and judgment, learning to give ourselves grace as we implement biblical principles to do life God's way.
So, Portia, you ready?
I'm ready. What about you? Are you ready?
Ready to let go.
Welcome to Letting Go with Grace. I am your host, Dr. Tasha.
And I am Coach Portia. How are you guys doing this morning?
Yes, good morning. So we are so excited to be back with you. I'm hoping you're doing your work and letting go. And what are you letting go of? It's a scary thing, letting go. So I wanted to share my dream that I had last night. So I just feel like I'm in a peculiar place in my life. I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but it feels like I'm trying and attempting to do everything right. Like, okay, I'll say this. There was a time in my life where I knew I wasn't doing things right. Like I knew I was out of the will of God, operating totally in my will, my way, my plan. And so, this season of my life, and I think that like as I'm growing closer to God, I have a hunger, to be obedient and just a hunger to serve God. And so it feels like in my mind, I'm doing the things, not they ain't perfect, right? I'm human and all of that. But my heart, I feel like my heart posture is truly one of servant, daughter, Lord, what would you have me do? And I think that our human belief is that when we're in this place, things should work out accordingly. Like there should be fruit from this place. And not saying that it's all bad, but it's this journey of I feel like the last 4 years have been just really trying. Like there has been this almost like this one thing after the other. Right. And I'm aware that a lot of these things have just been drawing me closer, helping, change some things out. The word that came up in my head is like burn off some of them things. Like if I'm being refined, it's like burn off some of those things. But I'm like, okay, God, like, when will all of this burning and like when will it be like okay, like you can like you can get poured into, like you this vessel that I can pour into and use. And even as I'm saying this, right, there's still some amazing things that have happened in my life, but it's almost like a breath holding what's next type of situation. A lot of fear, right? Fear and because I can't predict what's happening. So anyways, about my dream. So last night, like I woke up, I woke up probably about 3 o'clock this morning. So I dreamt. Just go with me, y'all. This is
We here. Let's
go. So first of all, I dreamt that I got like this call from the police saying like, "Hey, we need to come and investigate your house." And I'm like, "What?" So it hopped from that to then. Okay, I'm married, but in my dream, right, I borrowed my boyfriend's car, like it's this red sports car, and I'm going to this jury party. And I get to the jury party. When I get there, it's like this lady has like all this amazing jewelry, everybody there. Just for some reason I had $10. Like that's how much I don't know, wanted to spend. But when I get to the front of the line, like I have on the earrings, but ain't nothing else there. And she like, oh, so I don't have anything, but I can. She's like, I need to go over here, and then I'll let you know when I have something else. And so I paid for the earrings. Fast forward in the scene, I come out. I don't know how I get in the house. I don't know who house I was in. I come out the house, and the sports car is torched. It's like got graffiti all over it, and like I go outside now, the neighbors looking, and like nobody told me, but I had like this knowing, like, oh, I'm in this neighborhood. Like there's a, it's the neighborhood. I guess it was like a gang or whatever, and they destroyed the car because the car was red. It,
Oh.
yeah, go with me. All right. So now I'm frustrated. I'm like, oh my God, like what I'm supposed to do about this car. Anyhow, I get a ride back to my house. In my dream, I'm back in Slayton, and that's my hometown. That's where I'm from, right? So I go from wherever I was, and I got my cousins picking me up, and we on the road to Slayton, like on the road to my grandmother's house, because I guess that's where I was living.
Mm.
So this boyfriend, whomever, so there was really like not a face. It was just a boyfriend. But he was harassing me, like kind of stalking me. But I knew like I need to get away from you.
Mm.
Like like you keep taking things from me. Like your presence keeps stripping me of things. So I get to the house and like it's agents, DEA, FBI agents all over the house. And the house is in my grandmother's lot. And so of course I forget because I was worried about the car. So I get there and they look at everywhere. And so of course I'm mad. Yeah, I'm pissed off. I'm scared. I'm embarrassed. Um, and so I'm like, what is happening? And then I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I forgot they said they was coming to investigate the house. So I walk into the house and my cousin and all her friends there, and they all like laying down, and and they everybody looking at me like, girl, what you out these streets doing? So um so like I'm scared. I'm mad at them because I'm like really y'all believe that I'm really out here, living bad. And it was almost like that. You know how you have people who are waiting to judge, like,
Mhm.
oh, you live in this holy life, and yeah, we knew you was it was that type of judgment.
Mm.
Uh, and so I'm like, who is the lead investigator? Like, where's he at? So he come in and like he real friendly, and I'm like, no, you ain't gonna get me. Like, I ain't had nothing to do with this. Like, what is happening? And then I wake up, but I wake up in fear. Like I'm scared
Mm.
because I'm like, and then my mind starts racing because I'm like, am I doing something?
Mm.
Like, what am I making decisions that is gonna cause this destruction in my life? And so that's like the urgency of what am I doing wrong? So I get up, I pray, and then I start listening to I'm doing this fast. So she was just talking about the will of God. And I thought about our episode today just about embracing change and the power of letting go. And as she was talking towards the end of the prayer, um, and even in my daily devotional, I went from being afraid to having this peace, right? So these scriptures started flooding my mind, like in Matthew's, where he says, the birds don't reap or sow, but I feed them.
Mhm.
Look at the flowers of the field, like they're more beautiful than the robe of Solomon. And um, are you not worth more than those things?
Mhm.
Um, so why are you worried? Like, at what time in your life has worry produced anything good for you? And I'm like, okay, okay, okay. So then I go to my devotional for today, and it talked about because what our fast has been about, she just talked about this transparency, um, about having this transparency. And the devotional talked about being exhausted.
Mhm.
And I'm like, and I really am exhausted. Like, and it's like a different type of exhaustion. Like I've been exhausted in the world, like living
Mhm.
mid type. This is like a different type of exhaustion because it's like I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so
Mhm.
like usually we're exhausted because there's like this rumination in this, like I call it like this hamster wheel,
Mhm.
right? So the devotional just reminded me was basically like, no, you're right where I need you to be. Like
Mm.
I need this exhaustion. Um, and then when I was listening to the fast, she talked about us thinking we know the assignment and the purpose, right? Like we're praying for God's plan, we're praying for God's will, we're praying for God's way. But as we're praying like it's almost like, yeah, God, I want your plan um, to continue this business. You know, you told me to take a leap of faith, and I did that, and here we are. So yeah, your plan is for me to continue this business in this way, and so that's what we're praying for. And so she talked about the being able to be vulnerable enough and also transparent enough to say, no, God, like really, like I know I've been praying for your plan, your will, your way, but it's really been what I, because um and it's almost like this place, right? Like I've made it through school, like that was really hard, and trying and new things, and you know I'm fairly confident in my ability as a therapist, and being able to convey what I need to convey and help people get the changes. And she was like, what if this is something else? What
Mm.
if the next thing is something else? Hence the exhaustion. And so I thought that as I was just kind of piecing everything together, I thought, I'm like, dang, I think that that really speaks to our topic today, which is embracing change and the power of letting go. So
Mm.
what thoughts?
Oh, I think the first thought that I had was the pressure that we tend to put on ourselves when we are striving for what we know to be right and just, and when we know that it's the opposite of what we've done before. I think sometimes for me, I get in these places where there's this, like we talked, like that push, like this push to try to be all that the Bible or God's word says I should be. And in that push, there are times when I miss the growth because it's because the growth is a journey. And
Yeah.
so I have, like you said, an image in my mind of what I should produce. And therefore, like I'm holding on to this image of what I should be producing because of my focus. And I wonder if sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, even in the realm of correct heart posture, or just trying to strive for what's good, to try to be as good as we possibly can, in hopes of producing the things that we want. Like it's like this quest. If I can be this good, then I can produce what I want. Um, and then I know for me, there's been times where I've gotten lost in the doing, and I thought I was morally right, meaning doing everything biblically, but still missing the mark because
Mm-hmm.
it was in performance and it really wasn't in relationship and it really wasn't, and so I wonder if we just get to that. That's kind of the thoughts that I was having as you were talking. Um, because when you start to pursue something, you, depending on your characteristics and the type of person you are, when you start to pursue it, you pursue it wholeheartedly. You give everything you have to it. And like you said, typically you have a goal in mind. This is what it should look like. If I do all these things, this is what it's going to look like. And what I've learned in the kingdom is that that's not really how it works. Because the truth is, you don't know what it looked like. Like, you really
Yes.
don't know what God's plan is. And so that would be true if he revealed his entire plan to you, but he don't do that.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do that because there are things he has to do that you're not going to understand through the process of building your character to get you to where he needs you to be. Like sometimes perfection doesn't get you to purpose because it's in the mess that you learn the lesson to give to someone else. And only he knows what it takes for you to learn those lessons. And so we would like it to be beautiful, like I'm gonna give my heart, I'm gonna lay down, me and you gonna have this conversation, you gonna tell me what you want me to tell other people, and I'm gonna go do it. And he's like, experience is the best teacher. What I'm going to do is take you through it and show you through this process, heal you through this process. And then your testimony is
Mm-hmm.
is what you're giving, not what you heard in your mind or what you read in a book. Your testimony is far more powerful. The Bible is more powerful when it comes alive in your life because it's true, it's real. Like that's the part that is probably the hardest for me for sure. The
Mm-hmm.
hardest to grasp is I just want to do it. And he's like, no, it has to become you. And so in order for it to become you, you have to become authentically you. And then you have to watch it glory to glory, grace to grace unfold. And
Yes.
it's uncomfortable in the unfolding, but I assure you that through this journey, there's an imprint on your heart as we go that you wouldn't have if you just read the book and comprehended it.
Yes, no, absolutely. And even that authenticity, because I think that's, we always have like these words for the year, and everybody's seeking something, right? But and so I think being authentic is one of those things. And when I hear that word, what I'm hearing is just like truly trying to understand, like, who am I? What do I value?
Hmm.
What are my core beliefs? Who do I want to be?
Hmm.
Um, who I want to be when I grow up. Um, and she was praying about that as well, right? Where we think we know, right? Like I,
Exactly.
I think I know who I am, and I do my best to show up authentically. But what I'm believing is that that's also part of this exhaustion that
Mm.
that I'm in, right? And it's almost like God is saying, like, yeah, that's your vision
Hmm.
for you, but that's not. I created you. This was, she talked about God being the manufacturer,
Hmm. Hmm.
and him saying like, no, 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 no. Like I'm picturing like this warehouse, and God is saying like, we coming off these conveyor belts, and because we coming out of the line, I don't know, I'm gonna make something. We coming out of the line of, I don't know, ketchup. We like, well, I'm ketchup. Like this is my value. This is my content. This is right, because that's where I came out of that line for the ketchup conveyor
Right.
belt. And God, like, yeah, but let me tell you what the purpose of
Right.
ketchup,
Hmm.
the pure purpose, right? Yes, I know that people say that you use ketchup on fries, and
There you
people
go.
say you use ketchup for your hamburgers. But let me tell you why I created ketchup, why I
Right.
created you.
Right.
Um, as the manufacturer, let me tell you who you are. And so I think that we get caught up on this self discovery journey on us being wanting to identify and say who we are, because a lot of it is because of our past experiences, and not a lot of times not liking the way that we've shown up. Uh, and so I think that I am in this peculiar place, like this middle moment, right? It is exactly what it is. Like there's so much uncertainty, and I am so uncomfortable. And the reason I know that, and this is what I'm learning about myself as well, is I my fear of the uncertainty is control, right? So I operate from a place of control, just like you talked about that black and white, the doing,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So I get busy doing what I know, and I do the things that I'm comfortable with doing, and the things that I know I do well,
Right.
right? And so God is like, yeah, you do go well, you pair well with fries, ketchup, um, but I want you like I want to make this gourmet meal, and I know you don't really understand how the essence of who you are
It's gonna
is
add to that.
create this meal. Uh, but this is what I made you for.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so now it's the okay, how do I embrace this place? Um, and so I was looking at for like just a definition of change and personal development because I think that's probably the hardest part for most of us is to shift as we're developing because we have this idea of what it's supposed to look like.
Mhm.
And so the definition that I found was so change in personal development refers to a deliberate and continuous process of evolving one's thoughts, behaviors, attitudes, and perspective with the ultimate goal of achieving greater self awareness, growth, and fulfillment. And so I think that like if I were to put some biblical principles in there, it would be like the ultimate goal of of God being able to achieve, right?
Mhm.
Um, and we're able to become who the awareness of who God has created us to be, and for us to fulfill His purpose in our life. It's a proactive and intentional commitment to embrace new possibilities, learn from
Mhm.
new experiences, and adapt to the ever evolving circumstances that shape our lives. Um, and so all of that.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm sitting here as you said that I was thinking about Jesus and the disciples and the role that each disciple played in the overall goal of Jesus going to the cross and how oblivious all of those people were to their calling until
Mm-hmm.
it literally fell in their lap. And I mean, take Peter and some of the other Judas. Um, Everybody had a role to play in that overall purpose and that overall goal. But these were like simple businessmen. They were fishers. They were, they worked. They took care of their families. They, in their normal daily life. I'm sure, if we were able to ask them, like, so, hey, what did you like? Did you ever think you would ever be like this? This, like, nah, man. When I was growing up, I wasn't thinking about being no disciple. I was just trying to feed my family. That's probably how the conversations would go. Like, yeah, I was just trying to feed my family. I was just out there fishing. I ain't, you
When
know,
I just went to school and tried, like
yeah, I'm just fishing. And then this man walks up on me and he's like, come with me. And there was some connection that I had with this man that I didn't understand. I just knew that this was a place that I needed to be. And it was so prominent in my spirit that I couldn't stay where I was. I had to go with him. There was something special about this guy. And so I just started following him.
mm-hmm.
And if they were going to be very honest, they probably say there were times when I was with him that I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing? Like, this is insane. Like, what are you teaching us? Like, what? And there were times where I was lost and I didn't understand what he was telling me. And there was times when I felt enlightened and I was excited. And I had, Peter, I had an attitude. I was kind of hood a little, I had an attitude. So people was rubbing me the wrong way. I was still dealing with that, but there was something about this man that I wanted to know more about. So I kept following him. Like if they were going to lay it out, like as a human being, what we would learn about those disciples is one, they never knew what their true calling was when they walked into it. And two, they probably could not describe or define what it was that drew them to Jesus, but there was a knowing on the inside of them that that's where they needed to be. And then even just following Peter from he's in it with Jesus and like, I'm your man, I'm with you 100%. Wherever you go, I'm going. Listen, I am down. To, I don't know him. What you talking about? Out of Peter, this man that you had laid your entire life down for, you are now denying. And then
Mm-hmm.
the guilt and the shame that comes from not knowing that about yourself, because probably Peter felt like there's no way I would deny this man, and he was being honest. Like, there's no way. I love him too much. But when caught in the heat of the moment, Peter didn't know that a denial was coming. Jesus knew that a denial was coming. Peter did not know. And so I say all that to say that as God being the manufacturer of our lives, he don't lay it out for us like a red carpet. He don't say, "Hey guys, this is what you're going to do." But through your life, he's building character in you. Through everything that you're doing in your life, he's building character. And then, like he says, he beckons you with meekness, and there's something about this guy that you want to know. And then as you get closer to him, you start to learn more about you that you didn't know before. Some of it ain't pretty, some of it is ugly, some of it you like, wait a minute, I ain't got that problem. Yeah, you always did. But it's the beckoning and the calling that says, let me show you this. And so we can get to, because Peter also went back to work after Jesus died, because he was like, forget this, I'm gonna go back and be a fisher. Because and then what did Jesus do? He went back and got him and said, no, I called you for a purpose. I need you to do this job. And I want you to forget what you did before. The ultimate sin of denying me. But I know your heart.
Yeah.
And I know what I birthed you for. And I know what's inside of you. So I need you to do what I asked you to do, which is feed my people. Get up. Do you love me? I do. Okay, feed my sheep. Do you love me? He asked him 3 times. Yes. Why you keep asking me that? Okay, then feed my like. So I'm saying that the pressure that we put on ourselves and a lot of it is the expectations of the world and our mindset, and what we think we know what good looks like, and we think we know what the journey looks like, and so we're trying to, in our best, do our very best to walk what we're calling this narrow road, you know as closely to narrow as we possibly can. But the truth is, the journey doesn't look like what we think it will. And the only person that actually knows the outcome is him.
Mm-hmm.
He has to take us through this process. And we have to be willing to let go and go with him. And even in moments where we are second guessing what we're doing, like Peter, and we like, forget this, this is not what I'm supposed to do. It's this beckoning, it's this meekness of him that comes back. And I believe that's the reason why he puts so much emphasis on the relationship, because the relationship brings you back to him even in moments where you feel guilt and shame. It brings you back to him even when you're going through stuff you don't understand. It brings you back to him when you're in pain. It brings you back to him when you're happy. Because when you're in a real relationship with somebody, you want them to experience everything you experiencing. And I believe that's the reason why he tells us to focus in on the relationship. I think that's the importance of it.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'm even thinking you talking about Peter. Right, and I think it is the transition from glory to glory to glory, and the call to embrace it. Because you think about Peter started out as a fisherman, right? And then he was a follower. And then you get to Acts, and he is talking about the coming of the Holy Spirit. And then he is telling people, like, no, this was the Holy Spirit falling on people. People ain't drunk. Right. So it just talks about and even in that, right, how he's had to embrace. So I can't imagine that Peter the fisherman would ever believe that he was capable of being Peter the apostle, who is leading people,
Mm-mm.
who is forming churches, who is and so it's that glory to glory to glory. And I think that is the having to embrace it. And even as you described it, being okay with the messiness of it, right? Like being okay with Peter being like, okay, I'm a fisherman, that's what I do. Then God saying, yeah, but I'm calling you to be a fisherman man. And he like, okay, I'm gonna follow you. Then he on the water because he just got so much trust and faith. And then he like, they get to the last days of Jesus' life, and he like, now I got you. And then he like, wait a minute, hold up, who? Wait,
Right.
who do I have? Uh, and then going through the heartbreak of losing Jesus, and then having to be called back to and you can just see the changing and the navigating and the embracing that I can just imagine um, Peter had to do over and over again, right? But And I think sometimes what we believe, because we don't have the foresight,
Correct.
right? We don't have the foresight to understand that we are going from this place to this place to this place. Um, but just embracing. And so when I think about them embracing, it's just like this constant evolution. Like
It is.
change is not this one time event, but it's this continuous, ongoing evolution that we walk through, and it's going to involve a series of adjustments, and we're going to have to adapt, and there's going to be some refinement throughout the various stages, and it's necessary for our growth. And I think what I'm realizing in this moment, and just having this dream and being exhausted, and then hearing, I do it to my clients, but you exactly where you need to be. I do it to my clients.
Lord, I know it. Especially when you're in a place you don't want to be. You're just like, don't say that. This don't make no sense.
um,
I just like don't even do that to me, okay? I'm not trying to hear that.
it's fine. You like, okay, but I just need you to acknowledge that I'm not okay right now. So it's the this and that, right? It is
Yeah.
I'm scared, right? I'll just be totally vulnerable. I'm scared because I feel the stretching, and a part of me is like, I don't even know what I'm being called to. Like, I'm comfortable being the CEO of Chosen, seeing my clients, helping them through their middle moments. I'm comfortable in that spot. I'm comfortable as the in the Tasha that I've become. Like and this is a long time coming, right? Like I have always struggled with being comfortable in my own skin, and so
Mm-hmm.
I'm finally at a place where I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like most days, I wake up and I feel pretty good about who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Even the place in my marriage, and I'm comfortable with not trying to control who people need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm comfortable with giving Bianca enough space for her to figure out life, but still training.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and now here I am, and I'm saying, okay, but I don't see any growth. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like it's this and I wouldn't call it complaint, but it's like, okay, I'm out there and the flowers just growing this much, and I'm like, but I'm fertilizing, I'm doing the things, I should see more growth, like there should be more, and it's like, no, just enough, just enough,
Mm-hmm.
just enough. And so even as I'm talking in this moment, what I'm realizing is embracing that too, right? Because it's necessary, the just enough seasons. Um, because what I find myself doing is now I'm going back and saying, okay, I think I need some more. Like, what else? Like, okay, you're playing your will, you're playing your way. Can you reveal a little bit more for me? And then with the exhaustion, I'm able to I think what the exhaustion allows me to do is release my vision, because I'm like, I'm not growing. So I'm gonna release my vision, and so now I can come back into your presence, and I can really say, like, can you show me a little bit, like, what's next?
I have a question for you, Dr. Tasha. Um, One of the things that we hear all the time when we're talking about Christianity, or this is something that has kind of piqued my ears, is that typically there's this global conversation about greater. And the greater conversation, depending on the individual, your greater can mean many things. Um, do you think that in today's, and maybe not just today, I mean, maybe this has been like the foundation of Christianity, that when we start this journey with Jesus, like there's this automatic thought that I'm going to be huge. Like I think to myself, like the role that Judas played. And not to say that I'm saying anybody just going to be, going to end up killing themselves or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, I wonder if we put a lot of emphasis on this huge, like it has to be big. Like in order this has to be big, and then we put so much focus on it has to be big that when it's not like huge, or what we think is huge, then we feel like, oh, we missed the mark, or I must have did something wrong, or I didn't take all the steps necessary. Because the way I was feeling is that this was based on the suffering, I should have gotten something big, or what I would perceive to be big, when God's really the domino to what he needed me to be was to actually be at the Sonic with the lady who comes in tears and I give her a hug. Like he did all of this for me to give that lady a hug at the Sonic.
Hmm.
And was that big enough for me? Like, I wonder how much emphasis we put on bigger, grander, and then how many people are let down in
Hmm.
this walk as a result of this big grandiose mission
Yes. No.
that you feel like you're gonna be on.
No. Absolutely. And I would say yes. And yes, I do believe. Um, and I think it's more society, right? I think that the society we live in, um, there's a belief that bigger indicates you're doing what you're supposed to do. Um, and so I could say that there was absolutely a time in my life where I was thinking bigger.
Hmm.
Uh, but I think what I'm feeling now, even when I think about this garden, right, it's like the garden isn't producing enough to feed.
Okay.
Um, and there's just enough, right? And I'm saying, well, if your word is true, it says abundantly above and beyond.
Hmm.
And we just get just enough. Right. And
Hmm.
so, um, and I guess in this moment, right, because not necessarily the bigger, but am I planting, like, am I operating in the right soil? Am I using the right tools? Am I fertilizing the right fertilizer? And so, I think what I want to embrace is not necessarily the bigger, but the where, right?
Hmm.
If my focus needs to be like, hey, you need to pivot from focusing on the business and I need you to feed your family, right? I
Yeah.
need you to put different things to feed. Or is it, hey, I need you to go into and so I think the embracing for me is letting go of my vision.
Right.
Right. If you ask
Hmm.
me, like, oh, it has to be about chosen and it has to be about, you didn't send me back to school, so it has to be about this thing.
Hmm.
Um, and the embracing the change for me is being able to say, okay, surrender
There you go. So that's
and
exactly what I'm saying. Like,
tell me
to
where.
our to
Yeah.
our listeners, to the people who are listening to us having this conversation, and what is so important, I think for me, because I'm one of those people that would, like, if I'm listening to a sermon and he's saying greater is coming, and seed time, if you've been planting, if you've been, and I'm thinking to myself, I was planting them seeds, I was doing that, yep, that was me, that was me, that was me. And then I'm like, oh, it got to be big. The idea of the outcome is what we have to let go of, because in my experience, some of the times that God has used me in the greatest ways has been in some of the most minute situations that only the person I touched knows. But there's this, and this is something that I know about me, is that the seeds that I sow are harvesting all over, and I really don't know the magnitude of what I'm doing. All I know is I dropped a seed on this one person, but what I don't know is how many people that person has to touch. And so when I'm thinking grandiose in my mind, I'm thinking all my assignment is to drop these seeds. And I think that's an important piece of letting go, is to know what your assignment is, and this is something you go to God for. My assignment is to drop seeds, in the kingdom. Seeds are words, and so it's my words that are important. And I think everybody kind of has that same type of calling. If you're a Christian at all, we all have the evangelist requirement, right? Because that's what you do. But there's certain specific seeds that you drop in on certain specific situations, and so that's your metron, that's your community. These are the people that you drop the seeds on. But the way that I pictured it in my mind was, this one seed has the ability to produce harvest all over the world, because I don't know who you go and talk to after the fact. I
Yeah.
don't know whose life you touch. And I think in the scriptures it talks about, one plant, one plants, one waters, and one, I think that was Paul too, that made that kind of that same metaphor. It's the same. This is what we're talking about. Everybody's not going to do the same job. We all have a job, but it's like the grandiose is probably something you can't see, and it's not always a stage of 2,000. I mean, you're not always on stage with 2,000 people in your audience, but there could be that your seed touched over 2,000 people from the one person that you had the conversation with. And I feel like there are times when we get so lost in, I want to see what I produced, that you don't allow yourself to do the small droplets because you
Mm.
want it to be huge enough. And a part of letting go is letting go of that outcome and
Yes.
just being obedient in the process, so that however God wants to use your seed, you're giving him the ability to do it without telling him what he has to do. Like,
Yes.
okay, God, I'll listen to you, but my seed needs to drop on millions and I need to see the million. You know, it, that may not be, and I heard Pastor Darius say this. A lot of times we hear from God and we don't understand what he's saying.
It's got clarity.
Like he told you, but you didn't understand it. Like he told you go here, and in your mind you created an entire story about what here looked like. And he
Yep.
like, that's not what, like, I know that in your dream you saw for me. You saw a book and you thought, oh, I'm supposed to read this book. And then later you like, well, the book ain't here. Like, what am I supposed to do? And it's okay. Well, then I'm supposed to write the book. But what if that wasn't it at all? What if that book was metaphoric to what I'm doing in your life, and you just thought I wanted you to write a book? Like being
And that,
open, like that's what I'm saying. Like being open to the idea that I may have gotten the message wrong, and then being humble and obedient enough to God to go back to Him and say, "Hey, I think I might have got that wrong. Like, what was it that you really wanted me to do with this?" And be free and open, letting go of what change it is he wants to make.
yes.
And
Yes.
then just being in that. I'm just going to walk with you and see what you want to do, and just go with it. And we'll see what happens. Like,
Yes.
that's the
No,
free, that's the free part.
yeah, no, and I think that to your point, in Acts it also talks about, how in the beginning, I think maybe it was like maybe 115 people in the beginning of the church, right? And so they were called, right? And God's will, God's plan, and He gave them an assignment, and they were showing up and they were being consistent. And then after the Holy Spirit came, right? It takes you through that process, and then as I was reading, what caught my eye, it was like then the church became 3,000. And so I was just reading on the commentary, and I think what the embracing, the learning and the unlearning and the adapting is we walk, right? If he says go, we go. If he says do, we do. He's responsible for the increase. He's
Hmm.
responsible for the growth. He's responsible for the above and beyond. And so understanding that as well,
Hmm.
right? Because we're even taught, like, you're responsible. If you do these things, these are the things that should happen. And so I think just being able to adapt to those circumstances, that he is responsible for the growth. And so as I'm talking, Fantasia is popping up in my head. Like, I'm just like, this is her season. I love Fantasia. I love me some
Hmm.
Fantasia. And I think about her story, right? Beginning on American Idol.
Hmm.
So American Idol, now she tribute to Tina Turner Grammy
Hmm.
stage. But I think about the in between. I think about the heartbreak of trying to find herself. Her talking about the sexual molestation and the sexual abuse, and having a child so young, and then the dating, like, then she got caught up in that relationship, and trying to take her own life and trying to repair and restore and um, but even as I like, yes, in the bigness, right? So from American Idol to, you know, that's her purpose. But I just think about how often, and we can like we can just pull up person after person, right? Um, and how often you have to embrace and adapt to the circumstances, and then learn because we're always learning. But then we have to also unlearn
Mhm.
because we're learning a lot of new things. We're learning new perspectives, how to, look at things. But then I think that this exhaustion that I have, and not feeling like it's enough, like, okay, I'm missing something. And I think that what that's calling me to is the unlearning, right? Because
Mm.
I'm seeing that some things are outdated. I have some limiting beliefs and patterns and this break system that used to keep me safe, but now it's hindering the progress. It's hindering
Mm.
change. It's hindering my ability to let go because what I've been told is to be a planner.
Mhm. Mhm.
Told if like that was my mom. If you get up and do what you need to do, then, and so I've been taught those things, and not that those things were wrong, but I can see how it can also become a hindrance to me being able to surrender, to let go of control, and then say, okay, God, which direction do I go in next? Where do I plan next? Okay, this is where I am. All right. How do you want me to handle this in this moment? Because I've been having the controller and I've been trying to figure it out on my own. And so, okay, I'm gonna give you back the controller, and then you tell me
Mhm.
what's next. And so I think that all of just it's the this and that. It's okay to dream big, but do those dream? Are you willing to be adaptable?
Mhm.
Because in order to overcome seasons, we have to be willing to pivot and adapt. And so I think that that's also really important as we navigate these middle moments in our
Mhm.
lives. They're really scary. They really
Yeah,
are. I
and I think
has
that's
so much.
the curiosity is the antidote to all of it. Curiosity says there is no judgment and there is no understanding. There's only curiosity in this moment. There's only, what is that? There's only, I wonder why I thought that way. There's only, hmm. And the truth is, if you think about the journey, I can think about my own journey. The times when I was willing to go is because I was curious about what I thought I heard. So it was just my like, huh, I wonder what would happen if I did that. I'm just going to try it and see. So curiosity and then the courage to move in your curiosity are two things that I feel like are the antidote to letting go. Because when you're curious, there's no way you can be in control. You're asking
Yes,
questions. So how could you possibly control with your question unless you're manipulating the question to get the answer that you want?
you got to be aware of that.
Yes. And so, you know, and that's not curiosity. That's manipulation and guiding, you know. But curiosity is literally just saying, okay, here I am and I'm uncomfortable. And then here's my truth about how I'm feeling. And naked before God, just I'm literally telling you what you already see. And then literally saying to God, so what is it that you would want me to do with this? Just curiosity, just walking through it, and then having the courage to actually say those words and to be curious. And if you're not curious and you're scared, being able to say, I'm a little scared about this one. Like this is like, I'll tell you, I had a moment this morning because I was listening to Pastor Darius and his sermon from Sunday, and he was saying, you know, that there are times when we think we're in abundance, but we're actually operating in grace and mercy. And he was like, God's plan is for us to operate in abundance. And he said, many of us are in grace and mercy. And if you look at your life in grace and mercy, look at what he's been able to produce.
Oh, that's good.
And But I had a moment this morning. I'm laying in my bed and I said to God, I said, I see areas where I'm in abundance, but here I'm operating in grace. I just, in this space, this is the space where we doing all the work. And I'm leaning in on grace and mercy here. I'm just gonna be honest. I know that it's grace and mercy that's carrying me. And I don't want to be in this place. I want to get to abundance. But I'm clear on where I am in this area of my life. And that was the truth. And that's what I've learned is to be completely honest with
Oh,
God about whatever it is I'll feel it in the moment. And then
yes.
just reassuring myself that, and you're okay. You in it, you feel it, you know it, and you're okay.
Or you're gonna be okay, right?
Yeah.
Like I may not and I say that because I think sometimes we want to say we're okay, but we really don't know,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think part of my honesty, my vulnerability is I don't feel okay. I don't feel okay, God, and I know you got me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like I'm feeling really, you know, uncertain right now, and I'm bound, and I got this imbalance, and I'm on this tightrope. It feel like, and I feel like I'm about to fall. I don't feel okay, and
Mm-hmm.
I know you got me. So this and that, and I
Mm-hmm.
think just and I want to encourage our listeners to be okay with the this and that. Um, One of the scriptures that God gave me when He told me to leave my job um, is "Have I not commanded you to be strong and courageous? I know, do not be terrified, do not be discouraged, for I am with you. You know, wherever you go." Um, and that has meant different things to me in different seasons of this journey because I have been terrified, and then there was some shame because I'm like, but you said not to be scared, but I'm scared. You said not to be discouraged, but I'm really discouraged. um, but what I'm learning is to lean, the vulnerability of that allows God to
To do
grace,
what we need to do.
to give me some grace, right, to give me grace for the race, to give me the courage that I need, right? To give me the boldness, his boldness, because my boldness is a whole type of different type of boldness, right? But
Mm-hmm.
his boldness and his strength. And so I think it's the this and that coming to the end of yourself and embracing and learning and unlearning and getting comfortable with the unfamiliar and being uncertain and understanding that unlearning that those feelings are not indicative of you're not doing it right.
That is probably the biggest thing you could have said right there.
Yeah, yeah,
Because that thought, I'm not doing it right, will cause procrastination. You stop moving. Because then you start asking, what am I supposed to be doing and making it right? Because I'm not doing it right now. So I'm putting in all this effort. I'm exhausted. I'm not doing. I'm reading all these books and I'm listening to all these sermons and I'm reading your word and I'm still not doing it right. So what's the point? Is what you get to.
yeah, yeah.
So you have to be careful of that. I'm not doing this right thing. It's not a cookie cutter. It's not a you cannot fit yourself into my life and do it the way that I did. And God speaks to all of us in different ways, and He touches us in all different ways, and He has a plan. And some of them may be parallel. There may be some, some similarities, but all of us are unique. He created us that way. If he wanted cookie cutters, he would have put us all in like this section right here, y'all over here, y'all gonna do this, and you this section over here, he would have done us like he do the animals. But he didn't. He gave us a creative mind. He gave us what we have, and so there is no cookie cutter. The only person that knows is you and God, and you have to be willing to lean in on what it is that He wants for you. Stay in that area of curiosity as often as possible. And when you venture from that, what I've seen for myself that have helped the best is gratitude, which was my
Yes.
word for this year. Like when curiosity is not working, because it don't always work. Sometimes your mind then already went left and curiosity ain't working. It's being able to snap yourself back and say, but what am I grateful for? Because there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that are going well. If you just there's good and bad and God woven in your entire life.
Hmm.
That's just how it is.
Hold on, real quick. My family up. Hold on. Hold on.
Yeah, we gonna cut this part.
All right. So as we hold on, let me share my dough. Hold on. All right. So as we wrap up, I'm sensing a theme, possibly, right? Is some practical tools um, as we are embracing um, change and then understanding the power of letting go. So I heard you talk about curiosity,
Mhm.
compassion. So I guess we're gonna call this the four C's:
Mhm.
curiosity, compassion, courage. So curiosity about what the journey is, compassion for yourself, and the uncertainty and not always knowing it. Um, Courage to just keep going back to the manufacturer, right? Just the courage to just keep moving. And then celebration,
Mhm.
because I think we always wait to get to the end, whatever
Yes.
that looks like. And I don't want to wait to celebrate me when I'm in front of the church in a box and
There you
everybody's
go.
my life. Like I don't, I want to get in on the celebration too. Uh,
Right.
and so just celebrating. And we don't have to wait to see the it, right? But just the that attitude of gratitude, and I think gratitude is the core of celebration. It's like I'm
Mhm.
here. I'm I'm still coming. I don't
Mhm.
know. I'm still coming back to you.
Mhm.
Uh, and so those are the four things that I would like to leave.
Great. The four C's to embracing change. The four C's to embracing change. I
Yes, the
love
fourth.
them.
So what did we say? Oh, what did I say? Curiosity,
Curiosity,
compassion,
compassion,
courage.
courage, and
And so,
celebration.
yes.
Hmm.
So thank you for joining us today. Let go. Are you willing to let it go?
Are you willing to let go? I am, because I want to
Yes.
celebrate. I'm just saying.
Me too.
Okay.
Me too. And I'm celebrating. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So please like, subscribe. If this was helpful for you, share with somebody else. Leave us some
Yeah.
comments. Uh, what I really want to do, and it's been a desire, I want to get people's questions or have people come on live and just have these conversations with them. And as always, if you are needing just some individual help and assistance with embracing change and learning to let go, you can always reach me at Chosen Counseling and Coaching Services. You can go to chosencounselingservices.com
Hmm.
uh, and schedule a consultation. We got some groups coming up that I'm really excited about. And then also Portia has some things as well.
Yes, I also have coaching and mentoring. You can find me at Second Win of mentoringandcoaching.com. I also have some mentor groups that I'm running this year and doing some individual coaching. So you need some help getting it all situated, come see your girl. I'll help you out. I'll help you out.
Right. We will see y'all next week. We love y'all.
Bye guys.